Hello and welcome to a new video here on my channel. Today I'm presenting to you my story MHA and the Mystery of Quirks part 3, and if you like it, leave a like and recommend my channel to your friends and write a comment down below. And then I don't want to beat around the bush anymore, and let's start right with the story. Let's go.
It is my pleasure to see you again at last, Mr. Hisashi Midoriya. The old man said. His glasses somehow looked like bronze gears, his head completely shaved and a mustache filling the space where hair was absent. It was an impressive mustache. If Hisashi had any particular taste for facial hair, he might have appreciated it. Oh, where are my manners? My name is Kyudai Garaki. The doctor introduced himself. It took a few seconds for Hisashi Midoriya to realize that this strange quirk doctor was the very man who had tested his daughter when she had just turned 4. It had been one of the most important days of their lives. Learning that she had a quirk that seemed useless had crushed them. The memory sent a cold shiver down Hisashi's spine. Those had not been easy times. Thank you for bringing him here, Kurogiri. Now they will probably want to follow me. This is not the right place to discuss what you came for. Dr. Kyudai Garaki said. Whether it was because the odd doctor knew Kurogiri's name, the faithful attendant and butler of Inko Midoriya, or because of the laboratory's dark aura, Hisashi could not say. He simply stood there and stared at the back of the man's head. For a few seconds he couldn't find words. It felt as if they sat on his tongue, but he didn't know how to speak them. At last he found his voice and asked how Inko was. She is awake and improving, but the matter surrounding her is complicated. We should sit. You will need something to drink in a moment to steady yourself. It's a long and difficult story, but we should start with your daughter Azuka. When we first met all those years ago, I must admit I lied. Azuka Midoriya's quirk is not useless. It only requires a very specific thing. Azuka could become one of the most powerful heroes of this age. Her ability is too sensitive to register properly in the quirk registry. The correct name for your daughter's quirk would be 1-for-1 rather than the weak telekinesis we entered. That was a decoy, if you like, to keep prying eyes away. Kyudai Garaki said. It is as you think. The quirk of your daughter is connected to another quirk. That is why I had to bring you here. But it is better if Miss Inko tells you herself. Prepare yourself, she does not look like she once did. Kurogiri, the ever-faithful butler, added. What do you mean by that? Is Inko connected to AFO? Hisashi asked, but received no immediate answer. Please, this way. Kurogiri said, leading Hisashi down the winding corridors. The air smelled of chemicals and the light was dim. Just as Hisashi's patience wore thin, they reached a hospital room where a woman lay. Her face was scarred and most of her hair gone. Everything about her looked ravaged. Hello, Hisashi. Good to see you again. I expect you have questions. First, I want to apologize for the lies I have told you for years. My name is not Midoriya. My full and true name is Inko Shigaraki. I don't know how to say this, but as you suspected from your daughter's quirk name, I am connected to AFO. To be precise, I am all for one. She said. A violent coughing fit shook her and the air had to be pumped into her lungs through a respirator mask. Hisashi Midoriya would be a poor husband if he did not recognize his wife, even with her voice changed and her face scarred. The room's atmosphere was too heavy, too sorrowful for this to be a lie. Hisashi did not understand why she had kept the secret or why she revealed it now, but he would be foolish not to listen to a woman fighting so hard to speak. Whether he believed her in that moment or not, she deserved to be heard. Do not worry, I can bear it. To get to the point, I want to give our daughter a few quirks. If it were possible, I would give her my quirk, all for one, but I am not certain it will work. She should be the most compatible with my ability, but I cannot promise success. If I do not survive this, follow the instructions of my 2 trusted aides here. They will carry out my will. Inko Shigaraki said, interrupted again by a hacking cough. You cannot simply give up, miss. You wanted to see your daughter. Kurogiri said, voice trembling with concern. I am not giving up, she coughed. I only want it to be clear how dire the situation is. After all these years, I have nothing left that I cherish like I once did. I have earned whatever I must face. All for one, the most feared figure in the world, spoke in her weakest moment. But miss, why say such things? You saved me. You have done much good in your way. You have, in your own manner, made things better. Kurogiri protested. That is touching. But I have, never mind. If the operation fails, you know what to do. Give my quirk to my daughter. Perhaps she can write a new story with this power, one not filled with hate and pain. Inko said. When she spoke, though her voice was rough and rasping, the words betrayed no longer the cold calculations or hatred one might expect, but the simple love of a mother for her child. For a moment, brief and surreal, it seemed almost dreamlike. The greatest villain, the name used to chill whole streets, asking for the one basic thing any parent might ask, something good for their child. Hisashi could never have imagined, even in his wildest dreams, that his wife might be Lady Shigaraki, all for one. Yet despite the shock and the secrecy, he felt the old, bizarre stirrings of love. Some part of him thought she must have had a reason, perhaps to protect him and their daughter. I do not want him to see what we will do now. Kurogiri, take him away to a safe place. Look after my daughter, I entrust her safety to you. I do not want her to walk my path. Inko commanded through pain. Her words rang out, raw and fragile. Even if her face could no longer show it, anyone could see she would weep if she could. Hisashi could sense that whatever she intended would likely cost her life. Before he could speak another word, Kurogiri's cool fog gathered him, and the last thing he felt was the faint warmth of his wife, who could no longer move. I will look after the young lady, my mistress. You can rely on me. Kurogiri promised, and a golden tear slid down through the purple mist to the floor. Hisashi knew now that if his wife truly was all for one, she deserved whatever punishment law and justice prescribed, but even so he could not bring himself to tell anyone. Love made him irrational. The butterflies that had once fluttered in his stomach revived in a strange dance. For a heartbeat the room was pitch black, and then the darkness cleared to reveal a beautiful scene, rolling hills, trees, and fields. Perhaps, Hisashi thought, the story the heroes told us about all for one is not the whole truth. History is written by the victors. What if the version we know is skewed? What if, 200 years ago when the quirk all for one first appeared, things unfolded differently? If I had had such power back then, governments would have feared me. The fear could have created a self-fulfilling cycle, escalating until there was no end. Only seconds later Kurogiri stepped back out of the dark violet portal on the little hill where he had left Hisashi. Hisashi, I have come to answer your remaining questions, and to protect you and your daughter as I have been instructed. Kurogiri said in a heavy voice that, even in its smoky form, was still clearly filled with feeling. What do you mean she might die during the operation? What exactly are you planning? Hisashi asked, anger and other emotions in his voice. He felt his voice cracking almost immediately. It's simple. We've found a quirk that can heal her. But for it to work, her injury must be fresh, not old and scarred. The treatment is brutally straightforward. There is an 85% chance she will not survive. That is why she wanted to explain everything to you before she likely dies. Kurogiri said, but was interrupted by the worried husband and father. No matter what Hisashi said, it could not change what was already set in motion. Kurogiri would not stop it, even if he was not entirely sure of Inko's reasons. I can't believe you would allow her to do something like that. No, she could die. We have to do something. Hisashi said, but nothing happened. You must restrain yourself. It is her will, and I do not want it either, but I owe it to her to carry out her wishes. She saved me when I was not in a good place. Never mind. I cannot change it. It is her will, and I would dishonor everything she sacrificed to give this young lady a good life if I ignored it, Kurogiri replied, loyalty heavy in his voice. It was that devotion that had always rung in his voice since the days he and Inko used to visit. That same loyalty made it almost impossible for Hisashi to be angry at Kurogiri. It was easy to understand why he acted as he did. Why are you so loyal to her at all? Hisashi asked, seeing there was no way to make Kurogiri take him back, and after he had calmed himself. It was when I was someone else that I was killed by villains, or at least I think I died once. I wanted to attack her because I thought she was one of the villains, but she saved me, even when I tried to hurt her. She showed me where the world's flaws lay. She gave me a new life and healed me. I don't think it didn't change me, rather, I think I've never seen so clearly. The heroes and their efforts to improve the world are well-intentioned, but they are not always right, just like people without quirks and people whose quirks change their appearance. I believe this was about 10 years ago. My sense of time was not great then, but I remember the first time I saw the young lady. Kurogiri said, thoughtful. So you followed AFO because you wanted to? Hisashi said, though the name still felt wrong in his mouth. Yes. And I think it was because I was not satisfied with the hero society as a hero. Then there was the young lady and the missus. I failed the missus, sadly. I think she misunderstood me. But I can't blame her. Inko was never very good at letting go of her feelings. I think during the fight with All Might she grew tired of fighting. She no longer wanted to be the greatest villain, the darkness that made other demons recoil in fear. Kurogiri said as he opened a portal and produced a chair and table. Are you saying AFO, Inko, played the big bad on purpose so others wouldn't do worse? Hisashi asked uncertainly. Yes, that's part of it. But not entirely. It would be a lie to say we did no evil. As I said, we murdered, and we did things. People like Stain, who called themselves hero killers, or other psychopathic serial perpetrators. Maybe it's not the best way to make the world just, but the world has never been black and white. Heroes versus villains, it's all a theater the Hero Association likes to stage. No one considers that villains are people with stories. And no one who believes in the righteousness of heroes considers that good can create evil. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. By excluding some individuals from society for their appearance or abilities, as happened to Inko Shigaraki 200 years ago, you breed villains. The brightest light casts the darkest shadow. I believed, when I was a hero, that I did the right thing. But mainly I became a hero because of society, not because there was a better way to change the world. Imagine what good Lady Shigaraki could have done if she hadn't been constantly feared. Suppose your daughter gets all for one. Kurogiri said now in a firmer tone. Hisashi tried to dismiss it as the talk of a villain, but memories of Izuka being bullied at school for having a quirk she couldn't use surfaced again. For a brief moment he allowed himself to consider Kurogiri's words. It was more than the fact that he had known Kurogiri for years. It touched something he had long ignored. A forgotten dream, a long-buried wish to change the world, though in a different way than heroes had envisioned. To Hisashi, a world where becoming a hero is considered noble despite the high chance of dying in the job is not a good world. A world where people constantly die in skirmishes between heroes and villains is not a world that is truly good. It was absurdly cartoonish to think of good versus evil as neat categories. The truth was more complex, and the truth could not be ignored in Hisashi Midoriya's heart. I wonder what the young lady will do with the quirk all for one. Will she follow a path like Inko Shigaraki's, or will she use the power for good? She could steal abilities from people who wish to lose them. There are certainly people who would give up their quirks if asked. Imagine a system where the quirk could legally be taken and redistributed. It could control the distribution of powers, make villains fear losing their abilities, provide an alternative to endlessly imprisoning them in jails they later escape from. Without powers, villains could no longer carry out crimes as easily. Yes, it would increase the number of quirkless people, but perhaps the world does not need so many quirks. We could rid ourselves of a few. Lady Shigaraki did something similar, transferring unwanted quirks to short-lived animals and thus removing them. She could not directly delete quirks, but transferring them to a fly or a mouse effectively erased them. If your daughter has all for one, she could erase abilities in that way. Kurogiri said. Yes, I agree. The AFO quirk is not inherently evil. Like any power, it depends on use. But I cannot say whether I would allow my daughter to have such a power. Hisashi said, torn. On one hand, he understood that the world was not simply good or evil, and that the rhetoric of the hero's society only reinforced itself. People believed in a clear-cut notion of good that doesn't actually exist. Pure good and pure evil cannot really exist. On the other hand, the burden of such a power on his family made him unsure. Could he accept that responsibility? During the conversation, he considered whether he might take the quirk himself temporarily until they devised a better plan. Kurogiri did not explicitly explain, but he hinted that it was possible to put a quirk into a sort of stasis and store it indefinitely. However, transferring a quirk when the original user was dead would be difficult, since the organism's consciousness seems necessary to authorize all for one to transfer itself. Hisashi was surprised by how complicated transferring the quirk really was. It required not only genetic compatibility but also that the recipient's body could physically withstand the power. The way All for One worked had been mostly theoretical. It made sense why Inko might never have tried this before. The risk of failure could permanently destroy the quirk. The mere fact that Azuka had the One for One quirk made her probably the best candidate to receive All for One, aside from perhaps one other person. Now that we're on the subject, you called her Missy earlier. Where is she? Why hasn't Luna Snow appeared? Hisashi asked. That's a very sensitive topic. Kurogiri's voice broke as he remembered. A second later he pulled himself together and continued. Luna was the one who, in some ways, did what she did to our Inko. And honestly, I cannot bring myself to be angry at her. That is all I can say. I cannot tell you more about Luna. We don't know where she is. Only that she hates us deeply, especially Inko Shigaraki. Kurogiri said. What do you mean? Why did Luna disappear and why won't you tell me more? Hisashi asked, uneasy at the fate of his daughter's half-sister. It is exactly as I said. I cannot tell you and I do not want to. Even if I could, I wouldn't. Lady Shigaraki entrusted this to me. I only hope our family, our extended family, can come together in peace. I have made mistakes and I hope to make them right if I ever see Luna again. Kurogiri said. It quickly becomes clear to Hisashi that there is more going on than what's being said. Kurogiri genuinely wants to make amends, that much seems true. Still, something else feels wrong. Then Hisashi remembers, he was never certain what Luna's quirk actually was. Hey, Kurogiri, what exactly is Luna's quirk? I thought it had something to do with physical enhancement, but if she's my daughter's half-sister, that doesn't line up. That has nothing to do with AFO, Hisashi asks. That is something I cannot tell you, Kurogiri replies, his voice unchanged. Time passes, and after a few more minutes Kurogiri guides Hisashi back to the lab where he and Inko last spoke. Night stretches on. Azuka Midoriya wakes. It is dark and the curtains are drawn. For a second she doesn't know what woke her, then the memory returns. She dreamed she had a useful quirk. It's ironically cruel that she has a quirk but can do nothing with it. As she lies there, without warning the pain from the bruises hits her again. Instinctively she reaches for pain pills and a deep sadness shows in her eyes as the light filters through the curtains. The walls, plastered with All Might posters, look like ridiculous, half-fulfilled dreams, held up only because nothing else supports the framework she calls her life. How is this a fair world when my childhood friend treats me like a punching bag? Azuka thinks, remembering Katsuki Bakugo's words. They were like daggers lodged in her heart. It wasn't the first time he'd said such things. This time it felt worse. The question that slips into her mind takes root like a tree that won't be moved or a parasite that won't let go. It's ridiculous, but it won't go away. A simple question loaded with meaning. One that could upend her life. Do I even want to be a hero if people like him are heroes? Azuka asks herself as she lies there. Becoming a hero had always seemed the best thing she could possibly imagine, but the question keeps nagging. It didn't come from anything external, it simply surfaced and bred more doubts she didn't want to face. The doubt grew and grew. Should I even go to school at all? She asks, realizing it will be another sleepless night. Going to school seems pointless when the same things happen every day. Years of mockery and hatred over a quirk she can't use. Why does this world have to be so rotten? How am I supposed to become a hero when I'm practically as useful as any ordinary person? She wonders, staring at the painkiller in her hand. The wounds from the fight still feel fresh and raw, a warm throb. No child should be so accustomed to being hit. She swallows the tablet without hesitation. For a second she recalls where the pills came from and feels hollow. These pills aren't normal, they're too cheap. Well, whatever. It's not like anyone actually pays attention to me, so nobody will trick me, whatever, Azuka thinks as she sits up. Even though the pain remains, it's bearable. It doesn't matter whether the pills are drugs, some villain's trick, or something else, everything feels pointless. As she stands, her gaze falls on the knife left on the cutting board beside the melon from the day before. No, not yet, she thinks, locking away the darker thoughts and looking for something to do while her mind races and won't calm. Her eyes land on a photo of her half-sister and her mother, and suddenly she sees something she hadn't noticed all these years. What had been warped before is now obvious. Did you feel the same? Did you hide this emptiness in your heart? Azuka murmurs to herself, then realizes it's more than grief. There is deep fear in those eyes, fear of something or someone, but what is it? She flips through the photos she took with Luna, seeing, beneath the friendliness, so much fear in Luna's eyes, almost as if Luna was scared of doing anything wrong. The question remains, what frightens Luna so much? When a single Christmas photo falls out of the well-kept stack, a memory clicks into place like a key. The images connect, and it makes sense. Why didn't I notice before? What did my mother do that made my sister afraid of her? Azuka asks as she realizes this isn't imagination. It's a completely new perspective on her experiences, and it casts an uncomfortable shadow. Another question takes root in her mind and refuses to leave. These questions distract her from the things that already seem meaningless. Sister, what happened to you? Where are you? Azuka asks herself as she leans back in her chair and thinks. When was the last time I heard from or saw her? She wonders, realizing it's been more than 5 years. They said Luna was fine, but there were no photos or calls. Nothing to show whether she really was okay, and that suggests something happened. The fact that no one told her anything and Luna didn't keep in touch is strange. Azuka can feel the situation darkening, but soon she reaches a point where she can no longer dig for answers. What am I supposed to do? She asks, eyes falling on her wardrobe. A special dress lies in a dusty box, a memory that now feels empty and useless. Katsuki Bakugo, someone who once was a friend and then became cruel. Each word and each blow proves their connection is gone. Is it foolish to cling to something that will never matter again? She asks as the promise loses meaning. If it mattered to him, he wouldn't have said those things, and he wouldn't have sent his friends to bully her. The punches and the words would not have happened if he still cared. Okay, I should let go. This memory is useless. I feel nothing for him or that promise. No, not quite. I feel disgust, Azuka thinks as she looks at the photo where Luna smiles, always there for her. What happened to you? What's the story behind your smile? She asks, staring at the picture in the wardrobe. Now the smile seems like a mask hiding the truth, and the questions pile up. As she reaches into the closet, the thought comes, could Luna still be alive? Maybe she simply wasn't told for some reason. She shakes the idea off. Luna wouldn't die without someone noticing, but I haven't heard from her. Could she have become a villain? No, she wouldn't do that, Azuka thinks as she pulls out the dress and studies it. It's just a dress, nothing more. Part of her wants to get rid of it, to show him she's done and wants nothing to do with him. But she doesn't feel strong enough to say or show it. As she considers, no spark of doubt rises, this memory will no longer stand in her way. It will be a sign that he no longer holds power over her. Yes, I'll do it. But when? Tonight? Tomorrow morning? How do I do it? Do I burn it? She thinks as she tries to extinguish the last ember of feeling for Katsuki Bakugo in the emptiness of her heart. Izuka looks down at the dress and sees nothing but the flaws in this world she had refused to notice before. It's so obvious now, and it's almost laughable how easily they were missed. A world that cares more about how cool a power looks and how much destruction it can cause. Has my love for All Might died, too? Izuka wonders as she stares at the pictures of the man who once filled her life with hope. But when was the last poster bought and hung up? The very fact that the memory isn't clear only underlines how little these images matter to her now. When did I stop fighting when I get beaten? When did I stop dreaming? She asks, her hands clenching until her knuckles stand out. The dress seems innocent of the heavy feelings it has become witness to, and Izuka feels guilty as she crumples it. Well, I'll destroy the memory anyway, so it doesn't matter whether it looks neat or torn, she thinks as she gets up from the floor. She hadn't even noticed she'd been sitting, and walks to the bedroom door. A pen and a note go with her on the short trip and the message is written quickly. A lighter and some petrol aren't hard to find. You will look pretty in the flames, I guess. Like my feelings once, an appropriate end, Izuka thinks as she crosses the few meters through the night toward his house and prepares everything. There's no long hesitation, no dramatic tears, just the smell of petrol and then fire. Izuka turns away as she leaves and wonders what to do next. It is cold and the wind tangles through her dark green hair. In the darkness she imagines her red eyes must look dangerous. At least she inherited those eyes from her mother. It isn't long before Izuka stands in front of her villa. Wealth might give some people purpose, but not for Izuka. Could that be what annoys Bakugo so much about me? That I'm richer than him? Whatever. It doesn't matter anymore, she thinks, about to leave, when a black-purple cloud forms at the entrance. What is Kurogiri doing here? Izuka wonders as she watches. As a gravely wounded woman steps from the portal and visibly regenerates, a stone falls to Izuka's chest and presses down with unnatural weight. My lady Shigaraki, it isn't wise for you to come here so weakened. I checked. If your daughter wakes she will sense your aura. It would be bad if she wakes and sees you like this, Kurogiri says. There are no more words, but Izuka feels it. Her suspicion was right. Her mother is none other than Lady Shigaraki, all for one. That crushing aura of power and murderous intent leaves no doubt. Don't worry, she won't notice, and if she does, I deserve it, all for one says. I told you it's a dumb idea. We should check if you are truly well, Inko. We don't want to wake Izuka, and your aura is active. You look like a serial killer, Hisashi says as he steps through the portal. His words do not reach Izuka the way they reach the others. Once she understands what this means for her, everything shifts. Fuck. I'm the damned daughter of AFO. If anyone finds out they'll want my head. How the hell did this happen? How did an ordinary man like my father fall in love with AFO? This must be a joke, Izuka thinks, holding her breath, trying not to be noticed. Pressed against the wall, her heart races faster than ever. It all makes sense now. AFO is her mother, the fear Luna hid behind a smile. As Izuka considers it, she wonders if that's why Luna, or something linked to her mother, cut off contact. When the initial shock passes, Izuka finds she feels surprisingly numb at the moment. It's frightening, yes, but not enough to feel dangerous. Do I even know my mother well enough to say anything? Somehow it doesn't seem to matter whether I know her or not. I should probably panic more, think harder, but there's nothing in my heart that moves to care. I'm too tired for this. My mother is AFO. Okay, that sucks, but what can it change about my shitty life? If the heroes find out, they can't really take anything more from me. I've got nothing left worth living for, so whatever, Izuka thinks as the darkness presses in. Even the reason Inko is injured, or why she looks the way she does after all these years, is something Izuka doesn't have the energy to contemplate. It's strange, but she simply doesn't care. Should I try to sneak back into my room now? Izuka wonders as she slowly relaxes. I can't switch this quirk off right now. It's damaged by whatever. In any case, I need to get rid of it. And then I should just go. Instead of waiting here like it will change anything. Sooner or later I'll have to tell my daughter everything, and then, I'll have deserved it. A good end for me. Inko murmurs, feeling that something bad will happen if she goes into her home. It's been on her mind since the fight with All Might. Does someone like her deserve a happy ending? Does someone whose own daughter once tried to kill them deserve mercy? Do I deserve a happy ending if Luna wanted to kill me? But I can't hate her. I was obsessed with killing All Might, to reclaim the symbol of my little brother. I dreamed of ruling the world, of being the symbol of evil. But why did I want that? Inko Shigaraki asks herself, doubting. As she thinks, it affects more than just her family. The world itself seems to tremble in ways no one notices. Possible futures die out. The timelines where AFO continues her life as a villain collapse. An overwhelming fatigue holds Inko back from continuing on that path. Who would have thought I'd be too tired to keep up with taking over the world? I have burnt out. How ironic. I, who was feared by the world, am simply too exhausted to pursue something that no longer matters, Inko thinks as she approaches the house she hasn't seen in years. A sudden clatter sounds as a figure slips from the conservatory roof. Inko feels no fear as she goes to check for an intruder. Even weakened, a normal person could hardly hurt her. But she sees something she didn't expect. Hello, Mama. I didn't think we'd meet like this. Ouch, I think I sprained something, Izuka says, her long tangled hair spread over the grass as she tries to stand. But it isn't how Izuka sneaking to her room that unsettles Inko, it's the empty look in her daughter's eyes under the moonlight. Did something happen? Can I help you, Izuka? Inko asks as she helps her daughter up. Do you have a healing quirk? You should, right? Or do you prefer the name All for One, Mama? Izuka asks in a tired tone, as if she doesn't care. So you found out. But call me Inko in public. Yes, I have a quirk that can heal. Do you want it? Inko says, hearing the hollowing in her daughter's voice, there's an aura around someone who has nothing left to lose. As Inko slowly heals her daughter, she notices Izuka's insensitivity to pain. She barely feels it. It's not nerve damage, it's something else, and the uneasy feeling grows. That works, interesting. But why would it matter? What am I supposed to do with a power that helps people? It won't change anything in the end. I'm tired, Mama. I want to sleep. We can talk tomorrow, Izuka says, too exhausted even to lie well. Wait. Why aren't you angry that I lied to you, and what were you doing out alone tonight? Inko asks, her heart tightening as Izuka turns toward her. I burned memories, Izuka says, barely steady. What do you mean by that, sweetheart? Hisashi asks as he approaches Izuka. I'm tired. Can we leave this until tomorrow? Izuka says, moving toward the front door. Before anyone can say more, Izuka stumbles and a portal opens beneath her. She collapses asleep into her bed in her room. She's fine now. She's sleeping in her bed, Kurogiri says as he watches Inko. The brief glance they exchange shows they saw the same thing in Izuka, someone who doesn't know what to live for. Even All for One's quirks couldn't fix that. As Inko thinks about it, her life looks far from good. One daughter fears her and wants her dead. The other is depressed and sees no meaning. As Inko Shigaraki thinks over her life, she cannot help but admit that she has more or less failed as a mother. It seems ironic, after so many years and so many attempts to build a family and simply live in peace, to have messed it up so often. Okay, then this will be my last try. My final attempt to reach my goals. To lead a simple life and stop getting tangled in plans all the time. I already made the mistake once of letting ambition control me and wanting to reach the top of this world. But again and again the heroes pushed me back. Again and again they defended what they thought was right and kept this ridiculous world under their control. Maybe I have to choose a different way to seize power. The dream of living peacefully and the dream of ruling the world do not have to exclude each other. No, those are dangerous thoughts. I must not repeat the same mistakes, even if that means I can't seize world domination. What's more important now is that I make up for the time I missed, that I reclaim that time. Inko Shigaraki thinks. The woman many years known and feared as Lady Shigaraki, All for One, the greatest of villains. But when Inko Shigaraki enters her home, it feels strange. The smells are different from when Izuka was young. Everything seems changed. As Inko walks through the apartment, which has been rearranged with different furniture and colors, she has only one thing on her mind: why her daughter lost consciousness so easily. This can't be my daughter losing consciousness from something simple. She certainly can't faint from a broken leg or a slight fracture. Those don't correlate. So it must be exhaustion, or the reason she seems not to feel pain as strongly. It's definitely not merely psychological. She's blunted to pain. Judging by how she fell to the floor, it looks muted. Maybe she has painkillers in her system. I need to investigate. Inko Shigaraki thinks as she goes straight past the living room and the kitchen, not noticing the two doors leading to those rooms because her focus is entirely on her daughter. When Inko Shigaraki climbs the stairs, her reflection flickers in the metallic sheen of the banister, and for a moment she sees it again in the mirror that hangs opposite the stairs, the window behind her reflected too. Her features are sharp, her eyes glow red, and her hair looks snow-white and sleek. For a second, Inko Shigaraki remembers what it was like to be an albino, someone extremely sensitive to sunlight in the early days of Quirks. It was so unexpected to be able to step into the light again. Being an albino was really strange, especially when I got my quirk at 5. I think I was one of the first to have a quirk. Not exactly the first person, but among the first. I was part of the first generation. I vaguely remember someone saying a glowing baby was the first to have a quirk. Well, that might also be a myth, but when I grew up, quirks were only just appearing. Maybe it was a bit longer than 200 years ago. Well, roughly, Inko Shigaraki thinks to distract herself from the grim reality. When Inko finally reaches her daughter's room, a flood of memories she thought long buried crashes over her. It was a bedroom that looked just like the one before her now, plastered with stickers from previous kids who'd slept there, from generations when comics and fantasy were still extraordinary and superpowers didn't exist. Yoichi, look what I made for you. I braided you a flower crown, a young Inko says, full of joy, her red eyes shining in the dim light. Her skin and hair are almost as white as the winter snow. Holding the freshly made crown, made as early in the morning as possible so she wouldn't get sunburned, so her brother would have something to carry him through the day. Inko stepped through the door and saw her brother, not an albino, staring at his screen, surprised by an alert about an attack or a destructive conflict. As Inko looks at the screen, the scene flickers and jumps to the next memory so abruptly that the recollection wobbles before settling. Years later, the strange, unknown energy reappears, painting the sky with rainbow-colored aurora. Yoichi, don't worry. We'll get through this. I don't know what it means, but I'll protect you, Inko says as she sees the destroyed neighborhood they fled from. Smoke still rises from some burning buildings, the smell of blood, fire, and ash hangs in the air. Why did this have to happen? Yoichi Shigaraki asks. I don't know, but maybe our parents managed to get away in time, Inko replies, taking the last steps into the woods without once looking back at the place where their school and a row of houses had stood just hours before.
And that's it for today. I hope you really liked my story, and if you liked my story, leave a like and comment down below. And don't forget to recommend my YouTube channel to your friends. I just wanted to mention that not every picture I put in the background was created by me. Some I have from the internet, some from other sources. And if you click on the left side of the screen, you can go now to the newest video I uploaded. On the right side of the screen, you can also see now the newest video I uploaded. And on the left side upper right corner, on the left side corner up, I also will put a video I like from my own videos, so you can check that story also out. And until next time, take care and goodbye.